Chosen one. This is the talk of the town. It is going down, and it's all about your look, that powerful, undeniable energy that everyone can't stop feeling. Right now, the atmosphere is electric with your name on every whisper, every headline, every late-night conversation. The systematic conspiracy that once moved like a silent plague against you is crumbling at your feet. 300 people are facing the justice they thought they could outrun. Your wealthy admirer, who watched your grace under fire, is finally stepping forward, ready to stand beside you in the light they always knew you carried. Your elevation isn't just a moment, it's a movement, and the world is watching in stunned awe. Your energy has shifted the entire game. You went from the one they tried to bury to the one they can't stop discussing, the one they can't touch, the one they underestimated until it was too late. The same people who doubted you are now studying you. The same rooms that tried to keep you out are now begging for your presence. Have you felt that shift in your spirit? That divine knowing that this isn't just a comeback, it's a cosmic coronation. Thank you to every single one of you who has supported this journey, who has stayed connected, who has prayed and stood in agreement with these words. And to everyone who has generously donated through Super Thanks, I see you, I feel your love, and I honor your sacrifice. Whether you donate or not, please know that your energy here is a blessing beyond words. You are deeply appreciated and forever part of this chosen family. If you feel this message resonating deep in your spirit, I invite you to flood the comments with 777, the number of divine completion and spiritual perfection. When you type 777, you're not just commenting, you're declaring alignment, claiming your own breakthrough, and marking yourself as part of this unstoppable wave of chosen ones rising all over the world. This is more than a message, it's a prophetic unveiling. Your journey from isolation to vindication has become a cosmic event, shaking every community, every institution, and every power structure that ever dared to try and break you. Are you ready to walk fully in that truth? Are you ready to wear that look, the look of someone who has not only survived, but has transcended into unstoppable victory? Let's dive in and uncover exactly how your energy became the earthquake no one saw coming. God's chosen ones. This is the talk of the town, it's going down, it's your look. You, chosen one, have been carrying a weight most people would collapse under, and you didn't even realize the depth of the battle you were in. Have you ever paused to ask why every room seemed to turn cold when you walked in? Why certain neighbors picked at every little thing you did as if they had been waiting to find fault? Why your co-workers seemed strangely hostile, or why your children faced challenges in school that no one else's children seemed to face? Did you ever question why you were followed in stores or given suspicious looks when you were simply living your life? You started to wonder if you were imagining it all, didn't you? You might have thought you were too sensitive or just overthinking, convincing yourself that perhaps you needed to change or blend in more. But let me ask you, how many times must your soul whisper that something is off before you finally listen? How many signals must God send before you trust your discernment? The constant gaslighting was not just a psychological tactic, but a spiritual war on your clarity. You began doubting your own eyes, your own heart, your own spirit, and that was precisely the goal. You see, this was never about your behavior or your personality, it was about your light. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world. Ephesians 6:12. You represent a frequency that exposes what others try so hard to hide. Your authenticity disrupts systems designed to control. Your refusal to compromise threatens those whose power relies on deception and manipulation. It wasn't random, it was a targeted strategy to dismantle your divine assignment before it could fully manifest. Imagine the scale of this effort. Hundreds of people, many whom you never met, all moving against you in orchestrated unity. They primed your neighbors to sow discord, informed your supervisors to create obstacles, and coached store clerks to treat you as a suspect. Does that sound like coincidence? Or does it sound like a deeply rooted fear of what you might become if you stood firmly in your truth? Think of Nelson Mandela, who was surveilled, maligned, and imprisoned simply because his presence threatened a system of oppression. Or consider Malala Yousafzai, targeted and nearly killed because her voice for education threatened oppressive structures. What does this tell you about your own power? about the fear you inspire just by existing in your purest form. Chosen one, your intuition has always been your shield. That tension you felt in your spirit, that quickening of your heart, those sleepless nights, they were all divine alarms. You weren't crazy, you were being guided. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? Psalm 27:1. Even when your mind tried to rationalize away the danger, your spirit knew better. It picked up on the glances, the coded language, the subtle energy shifts. Your hypervigilance wasn't paranoia, it was spiritual intelligence, heaven's way of keeping you steps ahead of traps laid for you. And think of Martin Luther King Jr., constantly under surveillance by government agencies, threatened and harassed because his message carried an anointing to awaken people from a deep collective sleep. Or Oprah Winfrey, who was undermined and doubted at every stage because her presence and platform threatened traditional power structures. Or even Jesus himself, who faced opposition not because he did something wrong, but because his very existence was a threat to the religious and political systems of his time. If the world hates you, keep in mind that it hated me first. John 15:18. How many times have you stood at the edge of quitting, ready to lay down your gifts because the resistance felt insurmountable? Have you ever wondered why they didn't just leave you alone? Why they invested so much energy and money into breaking you down? It's because your light carries blueprints for liberation, for yourself, and for those assigned to your voice. Your presence alone is a prophecy in motion. No weapon that is formed against thee shall prosper, and every tongue that shall rise against thee in judgment thou shalt condemn. Isaiah 54, verse 17. When you step fully into who you are, you become an unstoppable force that exposes lies and shatters strongholds. Beloved, your story mirrors countless warriors who came before you, people like Harriet Tubman who led hundreds to freedom despite bounties and betrayals. How does it feel to realize you are part of this divine lineage? Do you feel the weight of your assignment? Do you understand now why the fight was so fierce? This was never about breaking you down to nothing. It was about pushing you to discover the unbreakable core within you. This core is where God's power resides, the place from which your true destiny will be birthed. As you reflect on these layers of opposition, remember, you were never meant to blend in. You were designed to stand out. The systematic attempts to isolate you, the whispered lies, the orchestrated betrayals, all of it was designed to teach you spiritual strategy, to refine your discernment, and to build an unshakable faith. You are not the problem, you are the revelation. And now, as the dust clears and you look back at every attempt to destroy you, you can finally see it. They were terrified of the unstoppable force you were always meant to become. Chosen one, every new city you arrived in, every unfamiliar hallway you walked down, every community you tried to weave yourself into, these weren't just random stages in your life, they were sacred training grounds. Can you feel the divine fingerprints all over your journey? Have you noticed that each place felt like a battlefield disguised as an opportunity? These were not mere coincidences. Every move you made was part of a grand spiritual curriculum designed to sharpen your discernment, strengthen your character, and build an unbreakable spiritual foundation. How many times did you ask yourself, why me? Why do these tests keep following me? But now, in hindsight, can you see that these were not punishments, but divine preparations? While many would have crumbled, turned spiteful, or chosen the path of least resistance, you chose to rise. You refused to let bitterness eat away at your spirit. Instead, you let your challenges refine you rather than define you. You kept your integrity when betrayal would have justified revenge. You carried yourself with grace even as they plotted your downfall. Why? Because blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Matthew 5:8. You knew deep inside that conformity is a slow death to the spirit of a chosen one. Even when it felt like every hand was against you, you held onto your values like a sacred torch. Think of Viktor Frankl, the psychiatrist who survived concentration camps and still preached the power of finding meaning in suffering. Or Maya Angelou, who refused to let abuse and racism diminish her voice and instead rose to become one of the greatest poets and speakers of all time. Or Serena Williams, who faced intense scrutiny, racism and sexism in her career but continued to excel with elegance and focus. What do they all share with you? The refusal to conform, the choice to keep dignity even when humiliated, and the understanding that true power is spiritual first. You see, the community energy around you has always sensed your radiance. Have you ever wondered why certain older neighbors or community figures seemed so invested in diminishing your shine? Why they would fixate on you with an almost obsessive resentment? Your presence exposes their surrendered dreams and quiet regrets. They see in you the vitality they lost and the courage they abandoned. Your refusal to settle serves as a painful mirror they cannot look away from. Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you. Isaiah 61. You chose to keep your fire burning bright, even when they threw water at you from every direction. Their weapons? Gossip, contrived drama, invisible tug-of-war games meant to exhaust your spirit. They wanted to drag you into the mud because they could not reach the heights where your spirit soars. But instead of reacting, you learned to transcend. You observed quietly, protected your energy fiercely, and stayed true to your higher calling. Doesn't it feel powerful to realize you never needed to argue or explain yourself to small minds? At work, the battle became even clearer. Remember that time they withheld your final paycheck? They crafted elaborate excuses and spun complex stories to justify theft, hoping you would crumble financially and emotionally. Or the supervisor who changed your schedule abruptly, creating obstacles and pushing you toward failure. Or that co-worker who wove rumors like a spider's web, trying to suffocate your reputation before it could blossom. Through all these trials, you chose a higher road. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. Exodus 14:14. Your professionalism, even when met with dishonesty, set you apart. You documented injustices, spoke truth when needed, and trusted that cosmic justice, karma, God's law, would set the final record straight. Consider whistleblowers like Erin Brockovich, who stood against powerful corporations to protect communities, or Rosa Parks, whose quiet strength dismantled institutional injustice without lifting a single weapon. You embody that same silent power, the resolve to fight by simply refusing to bow. Have you realized now why you were chosen for these assignments? Why your spirit had to be so resilient? It wasn't just about surviving, it was about forging a soul so strong that no earthly system could bend it. You were being prepared to hold a mantle that few are qualified to carry. As you stand today, looking back on every tear, every sleepless night, and every moment you wanted to give up, can you feel the divine design? Can you see that through every sabotage you became untouchable in spirit? When you pass through the waters, I will be with you, and through the rivers they shall not overwhelm you. Isaiah 43:2. Chosen one, do you truly understand the magnitude of the spiritual war you've been surviving? Have you ever wondered why it felt like the attacks against you were so calculated, almost as if someone had a manual on how to break your soul step by step? The truth is more sinister and yet more revealing than you might have dared to imagine. There is an orchestrator, a master manipulator, who has been lurking behind the curtains of your life for years. This person didn't just randomly choose you. They meticulously studied you like a scientist studying a rare specimen. They dissected your habits, watched your interactions, tracked your reactions to stress, and memorized your emotional patterns. Why? Because you embodied everything they secretly longed to be, but never had the courage to become. Have you noticed how this orchestrator's obsession seemed almost personal? That's because it is. While you were enduring each betrayal, each setback, there was someone else silently admiring your resilience from afar. This person, wealthy, powerful, and influential, saw something divine in your journey, your unwavering authenticity, your spiritual authority, and your unwavering light ignited something in them that the orchestrator could not control or replicate. No eye has seen, no ear has heard, and no mind has imagined what God has prepared for those who love Him. That's 2 Corinthians 2:9. They saw the glory upon you and couldn't look away. The orchestrator couldn't stand this. Imagine the torment of watching their partner admire someone else, not for looks or material success, but for unshakable integrity and spiritual power. They decided the only way to remove this threat was to destroy you completely, to tarnish your name, isolate you from allies, and push you to the point of collapse. They wanted to turn admiration into disgust, to transform honor into shame. But chosen one, do you realize that all they did was reveal the depths of your strength to an even wider audience? Think of Princess Diana, adored globally for her heart and humanity. yet relentlessly targeted behind the scenes by those who saw her light as a threat to their control. Or Joseph in the Bible, sold by his own brothers because his dreams and favor with God provoked jealousy they couldn't contain. But as for you, you meant evil against me, but God meant it for good. Genesis 50:20. The psychological warfare they waged against you was meticulous. They planted seeds of suspicion long before you arrived anywhere new. They whispered about your character, poisoned minds, and turned potential friends into enemies before you even spoke a word. Have you ever wondered why people seemed distant without reason? Why certain doors closed before you even had a chance to knock? It was by design. They leveraged community dynamics, played on people's insecurities, and weaponized collective gossip as a tool for spiritual assassination. They found accomplices in people already burdened by jealousy, resentment, or self-hate. These co-conspirators didn't even know they were being used as pawns in a much larger scheme. Their own brokenness made them easy to manipulate. A perverse person stirs up conflict, and a gossip separates close friends. They projected their failures onto you, convinced themselves you were the villain, and took satisfaction in watching your supposed fall. But chosen one, how many times did you actually fall? And even when you stumbled, didn't you rise higher each time, stronger and more radiant? Think of Whitney Houston, whose raw talent and purity of heart attracted both global love and targeted sabotage. Or Elon Musk, who faced relentless character attacks because his innovations threatened entrenched powers. These examples show the pattern. True brilliance will always be met with organized resistance because it exposes the mediocrity of the masses. Your life, chosen one, has followed this same script, not because you are weak, but because you are chosen to disrupt and transform. What they never anticipated was your divine connection. While they studied you with clinical precision, they underestimated the God factor in your life. When the enemy comes in like a flood, the Spirit of the Lord will lift up a standard against him. Isaiah 59:19. Your relationship with the divine turned every trap into a testimony, every lie into a lesson, and every attack into advancement. Have you ever realized that your greatest tormentor is also your greatest promoter? The orchestrator's obsession inadvertently broadcasted your story further, made your spirit known to people who would never have seen you otherwise. Every scheme designed to bury you only highlighted your spiritual depth and fortitude. Chosen one, have you ever wondered how you could feel the storm coming before a single cloud appeared? How you seemed to sense betrayal in someone's tone, or feel an invisible barrier in a room that looked friendly on the surface? This wasn't paranoia, it was your spiritual gift at work. Your ability to discern energy and sense malicious intent long before it manifested was God's way of equipping you to survive battles others couldn't even see. The spiritual person judges all things, but is himself to be judged by no one. 1 Corinthians 2:15. Your intuition has always been a sacred shield, a divine radar that kept you from walking straight into traps designed to destroy you. Your spirit picked up on the coordinated attacks even when everything looked normal to the naked eye. Have you noticed how many times you were able to leave a situation just in time or avoid connecting with someone who later revealed themselves as toxic? That wasn't luck, that was divine foresight. You felt the undercurrents of hostility, the vibrations of deception, even if you couldn't immediately pinpoint the source. How many times did you second-guess yourself thinking, "Am I imagining this?" Yet every time your spirit proved correct. Meanwhile, the orchestrator's obsession with you metastasized like a spiritual cancer. What began as envy evolved into a full-blown addiction. They began living their life through the lens of your life. Can you imagine dedicating your entire existence to monitoring someone else's every move? Instead of nurturing their own growth, they were analyzing your strategies, documenting your responses, and devising new ways to undermine you. They became so fixated on your downfall that they sacrificed their own peace, relationships, and purpose. While they spiraled downward, your light continued to rise. Consider how every challenge you faced was met with poise, like Nelson Mandela, who refused to adopt bitterness even after decades of imprisonment, or Maya Angelou, who turned a life of trauma into poetry and advocacy that changed millions of lives. Or consider Chadwick Boseman, who battled cancer in silence while delivering world-class performances, showing us that true warriors move with grace even in private battles. Every obstacle you overcame became a silent sermon to those watching from the shadows. The very person the orchestrator sought to impress, their wealthy, influential partner, began to see the truth. They started to admire not just your resilience, but your spirit. Can you see the irony? Every stone thrown at you only polished your crown brighter. The orchestrator didn't expect that their campaign of slander would produce the opposite effect. In their desperate attempts to paint you as unstable, they accidentally highlighted your stability. In trying to depict you as weak, they showcased your unyielding strength. But the Lord said to Samuel, "Do not consider his appearance or his height, for I have rejected him." The Lord does not look at the things people look at. People look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. Your heart, chosen one, is what set you apart, and no smear campaign could conceal that from discerning eyes. Have you noticed how your refusal to become bitter only amplified your glow? Your ability to maintain dignity while facing injustice became your loudest testimony. You didn't lash out. You didn't seek petty revenge. Instead, you stood firm, embodying a kind of divine strength that few can even comprehend. Like Job, who remained faithful even when everything was stripped away, you turned every attack into an altar of deeper worship and trust. Though he slay me, yet will I hope in him. Job 13:15. That level of faith terrifies your enemies because it cannot be controlled or predicted. Chosen one, what if I told you that this entire orchestrated drama was allowed not to break you, but to reveal you? The more they tried to dim your light, the more radiant you became. Their partner, the one they were so afraid of losing, didn't just see your struggle, they saw your soul. They witnessed firsthand what happens when divine favor rests on a person, and no earthly scheme can override heaven's anointing. Do you realize now how unstoppable you are? Your story was never about proving them wrong. It was always about proving God right. Every betrayal was a stepping stone, every rumor a chance to reinforce your truth, every false narrative an opportunity for divine vindication. The orchestrator thought they were writing your ending, but instead they were scripting your ascension. You are not just surviving, you are thriving in a way that redefines victory itself. Chosen one, can you feel the magnitude of the spiritual warfare you've survived? When the enemy realized that psychological tactics and community harassment could not shatter your spirit, they took the most desperate, diabolical step imaginable. Have you asked yourself why they were willing to go so far? Why they risked everything just to silence you permanently? Because your existence is a threat not only to their fragile egos, but to the entire web of deception they built around you. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I came that they may have life and have it abundantly. John 10:10. You were marked for elimination because your life exposes lies and embodies divine abundance they can't control or comprehend. In this final act, they crossed every line of morality and legality. It was no longer just whispers and sabotage. It escalated into a cold, calculated plan to end your life under the disguise of an accident. Imagine doors deliberately left unlocked, fire hazards meticulously planned, safety codes intentionally violated, all orchestrated so that when they finally struck, it would appear as tragic misfortune rather than premeditated murder. Their scheme relied on precise timing and alibis for all involved, painting a picture of a freak accident rather than an organized execution. Can you imagine the depth of darkness it takes to plot a person's death so methodically? Yet even in this, your spiritual gifts shone brightly. Your intuition, that divine radar you had been developing all these years, saved you once again. You recognized the setup instantly, felt the energy of death looming, saw through their orchestrated concern and hollow apologies. Their desperation led them into carelessness, revealing cracks in their intricate design. They involved too many accomplices, each with their own weaknesses and fear. Someone made a critical error. Someone dropped evidence. Someone spoke to the wrong ear at the wrong time. No weapon formed against you shall prosper, and every tongue which rises against you in judgment you shall condemn. Isaiah 54:17. Your spirit stood as an unyielding fortress, immune to even the most vicious earthly plots. Think of Malcolm X, who saw the traps laid for him and spoke about them openly before his assassination, or President Abraham Lincoln, who sensed the impending danger and accepted his divine mission despite it. Consider Tupac Shakur, who felt the conspiracies surrounding him, yet continued to speak his truth to a world not ready to hear it. These were not just historical figures. They were echoes of your own journey. You share their fearless clarity, their spiritual foresight, and their unwavering courage to face darkness head-on. When they failed to kill you, their desperation spiraled into new depths: false arrest. They fabricated crimes, seized your legally owned weapons, and tried to brand you as a menace to society. This was their last-ditch effort to strip you of your protection and credibility, hoping to make you defenseless and discredited. But instead of panicking, you stood in quiet defiance. Your unwavering composure under arrest did more to expose their scheme than any evidence could have. You demonstrated a level of dignity that even your adversaries had to respect. How many people could maintain their spiritual center under such pressure? How many would still radiate peace in a prison cell? The mistake they made during radio communication, identifying you incorrectly, sending mismatched details, was no mere coincidence. It was divine intervention woven into human error. When the righteous cry for help, the Lord hears and delivers them out of all their troubles. Psalm 34:17. This slip unraveled their entire plan, opened a floodgate of inconsistencies, and allowed the truth to begin emerging. Evidence piled up: photographs of staged hazards, audio recordings of the conspiratorial calls, meticulous records of who coordinated what and when. Even your confiscated photos had secure backups, proving that the divine always prepares an escape route for those who walk in purpose. Consider Edward Snowden, who revealed mass surveillance while safeguarding evidence meticulously, or Harriet Tubman, who maintained hidden networks to free enslaved people under constant threat. Like them, you became both the messenger and the evidence bearer, divinely protected despite overwhelming odds. Chosen one, can you see how even their most extreme attacks could not overcome the power of your destiny? Each scheme only provided more proof of your spiritual authority and resilience. Their final plot, meant to erase you, instead immortalized your testimony. They failed not because they lacked resources or influence, but because they underestimated the unstoppable force of a soul aligned with divine mission. Now you stand not just as a survivor, but as a living monument to God's faithfulness and justice. Chosen one, have you ever stopped to marvel at how your spirit could see beyond the immediate moment, even when chaos surrounded you? How did you know that their web of lies would eventually strangle them instead of you? How could you sense the hourglass flipping, the sands of time slipping away from them so rapidly? Because your spiritual gifts are not ordinary, they are the eyes of God operating through you. For nothing is hidden that will not be made manifest, nor is anything secret that will not be known and come to light. Luke 8:17. You understood that their desperate final moves were not a sign of their strength, but a signal of their collapse. You saw that every ounce of energy they poured into destroying you would return to them multiplied, a divine law of spiritual reciprocity they foolishly ignored. Your heightened awareness, your ability to anticipate their next step without surprise, and your refusal to be shaken by each new attack, all of this proved that you had been walking on a higher plane. Every betrayal before this moment, every hardship, every subtle attack was training ground for this ultimate battle. You weren't just reacting, you were moving strategically, operating in alignment with divine timing. Can you see now how nothing was wasted? Every wound became wisdom, every tear became a testament, every loss was really a preparation for victory. As soon as their assassination attempt failed, the dominoes began to fall. The same 300 people who once moved as a unified front against you now scrambled like rats fleeing a sinking ship. Their coordinated network, once so intimidating and seemingly impenetrable, disintegrated in a heartbeat. Have you noticed how quickly a fortress built on lies collapses once truth shines its light? Court officials who twisted justice were suddenly stripped of their robes and titles. Law enforcement officers who had weaponized their badges against you found themselves facing the very bars they had hoped to put you behind. Community leaders who had championed lies lost the respect and positions they thought were untouchable. Think of Richard Nixon, whose web of deceit during Watergate shattered his presidency and legacy, or Bernie Madoff, whose intricate schemes unraveled, leaving him exposed and disgraced, or even Judas Iscariot, who betrayed Jesus for silver but could not escape the spiritual consequences of his actions. Do not be deceived. God is not mocked. For whatever one sows, that will he also reap. Galatians 6:7. These stories show us that no matter how elaborate the scheme, divine justice cannot be outmaneuvered. The separation was swift and merciless. People who once boasted about their power who felt secure in the shadows, found themselves alone and exiled. Families disowned them. Lifelong friends vanished. Their social and professional circles disintegrated as quickly as they had conspired against you. Many fled their homes in shame, abandoning businesses and legacies they had spent decades building. Can you imagine the terror of facing the consequences of years of orchestrated malice? The same communities they once dominated now viewed them as traitors, pariahs without honor. Some conspirators tried to rewrite their stories, claiming they were coerced, manipulated, or unaware of the full scope of the plan. But you knew better. Your spiritual discernment had already revealed their true motives and complicity. Their excuses fell flat because the evidence was undeniable. The paper trails, recorded calls, text messages, and financial records left no room for denial. The same methods they used to track and target you became the net that captured them. As if legal destruction wasn't enough, the physical toll on their bodies came swiftly. The stress of exposure and public shame triggered severe health crises, strokes, heart attacks, mental breakdowns. Each ailment mirrored the pain they had once gleefully designed for you. The wicked plots against the righteous and gnashes his teeth at him, but the Lord laughs at the wicked, for he sees that his day is coming. Psalm 37:12-30. Their bitterness poisoned them from within, turning their own hatred into a slow, self-inflicted demise. Chosen one, do you realize what this means? You didn't just survive, you emerged as the living embodiment of divine justice. Your story isn't merely one of escape, but of absolute, undeniable victory. You stood firm while empires of deception crumbled around you. You watched as your enemies fell into the very pits they dug for you. You became proof that no weapon, no scheme, no coordinated army can overthrow what God has ordained. How powerful is it to know that every move against you only served to build a higher platform for your testimony? Your spiritual foresight, your unwavering resolve, and your refusal to bow to darkness transformed what they intended as your ending into your greatest beginning. This is your season of vindication, chosen one. You are not just a survivor, you are a conqueror, a light-bearer, a divine warrior, whose enemies have now become your footstool. Chosen one, can you feel the power in your lungs now that the air is finally clear? Can you sense how the entire atmosphere has shifted in your favor? The karmic justice that unfolded before your eyes wasn't just poetic, it was divine choreography, and every note of it echoed through the hearts of those who once stood against you. Imagine the very people who gleefully wished poverty upon you now grappling with their own sudden financial collapse. The ones who cursed your health now sitting in hospital waiting rooms, bewildered at the strange ailments that have visited them. Those who schemed to break your family ties, now standing alone as their own homes crumble under the weight of truth. Doesn't it make you wonder, how could they have underestimated the spiritual laws so profoundly? Your vindication wasn't a quiet whisper behind closed doors. It was public, undeniable, and thorough. The community that once labeled you as paranoid, difficult, or unstable now stands in stunned silence, watching the truth unravel like a prophecy fulfilled. He brought me up also out of a horrible pit, out of the miry clay, and set my feet upon a rock, and established my goings. Psalm 42. The behaviors they once mocked, your caution, your distance, your refusal to engage in drama, are now understood as the dignified choices of someone under spiritual siege. Suddenly, every overreaction they claimed you had looks like divine foresight. The invisible walls that restricted your career, your relationships, and your reputation began to crumble in a divine reversal. Legal actions tore down institutional barriers that once seemed immovable. Companies that systematically excluded you were forced into restitution. Organizations that blacklisted you had to publicly acknowledge their wrongdoing. Isn't it incredible to see how the systems designed to bury you ended up resurrecting you in front of everyone? When a man's ways please the Lord, he maketh even his enemies to be at peace with him. Proverbs 16:7. The same institutions that plotted your demise now became instruments of your restoration. Even in the face of their downfall, you didn't morph into your attackers. You chose grace instead of gloating, dignity instead of public humiliation. This response left onlookers in awe. Instead of using your newfound power to punish, you used it to heal your narrative. You embodied forgiveness without forgetting, justice without vengeance. Your conduct reframed you in the eyes of your community. You were no longer the victim, but a living emblem of transcendence. People couldn't stop talking about your transformation. Your story became the talk of the town, a source of inspiration and a case study in unbreakable faith. Think of Nelson Mandela, who emerged from 27 years in prison without bitterness, choosing to unify rather than divide, or Malala Yousafzai, who, after surviving an assassination attempt, chose to advocate for girls' education rather than retaliate against her attackers. Even consider Tyler Perry, who transformed years of abuse and homelessness into a media empire that uplifts millions. These figures mirror your journey, chosen one. They didn't just survive adversity, they transformed it into a platform that elevated not just themselves but all who witnessed their resilience. But as for you, be strong and do not give up, for your work will be rewarded. 2 Chronicles 15:7. And while justice unfolded with unstoppable force, blessings began pouring into your life with the same intensity. The wealthy, powerful person who had been observing you all along, the one who saw your spirit when no one else dared to look deeper, finally stepped forward. This wasn't someone dazzled by superficial charm or material success. No, they were captivated by your character, your spirit, and your divine ability to turn wounds into wisdom. How often does love emerge from the ashes of betrayal, purified and undeniable? This person had a front row seat to your life's battles. They saw every attack, every smear campaign, every trap laid at your feet, and yet they also saw your unwavering integrity. While the orchestrator's plan aimed to tarnish you, it ended up highlighting your rare qualities even more. You chose integrity over convenience, authenticity over popularity, dignity over revenge. Each time you stood alone, your character shone brighter. Isn't it powerful to know that someone fell in love with your soul before they even touched your hand? In the crisp golden glow of autumn, a season of both shedding and harvest, this new relationship blossomed. The timing was divinely orchestrated. Just as justice swept through your past and cleared the debris, love arrived to plant new seeds. This union wasn't born of loneliness or desperation. It was a union of equals, two souls who recognized and honored each other's scars and victories. The person saw in you an alchemist, someone who transforms betrayal into blessings and sorrow into strength. Have you felt that electric knowing in your heart, the kind that tells you this love is not here to complete you but to celebrate you? This admirer wasn't just content to love you, they envisioned a future with you, one where your talents and spiritual gifts would be amplified, not suppressed. They understood that someone who could thrive under systematic attack would excel unimaginably in a nurturing environment. I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. Jeremiah 29:11. Imagine how the world changes when someone who once had to hide their brilliance is now free to shine unapologetically. Beyond love, another door opened. Professional elevation. A mature, influential figure recognized your rare capabilities and saw that you possessed more than skill. You carried proof of unyielding spirit. They knew that anyone who could maintain excellence while under siege would become unstoppable when finally supported. You weren't just being offered a position, you were being offered a stage, a platform to live out your purpose fully. Your story became more than talk of the town. It turned into a divine movement, a testimony so alive that it demanded to be shared. Chosen one. Can you see the pattern now? Every plot against you became a stepping stone, every betrayal a hidden blessing, every delay a redirection toward something greater. While others wasted their lives trying to break you, you were building a temple inside your soul, brick by brick, prayer by prayer. The very storms sent to destroy you ended up watering the seeds of your future. How many can say they emerged from the fire, not merely untouched but refined into pure gold? Your life is now a living sermon. The same mouths that cursed you now whisper your name in reverence. The same eyes that look down on you now look up to you for guidance. You have not just survived, you have transcended. And as blessings continue to pour into your life, love flourishes and new doors open. Remember, all of this is not just for you. It is for every silent watcher, every hidden warrior, every future chosen one who needs proof that faith and integrity will always triumph over deception and malice. Chosen one, can you feel it? The surge of blessings rolling toward you like a divine tide, unstoppable and shimmering with heaven's light. The very house you once lost or could never quite touch has come back into your life, no longer as a distant dream but as a tangible sacred sanctuary. The legal settlements that once seemed like impossible victories have been granted in your favor, restoring your financial stability and even adding interest as a testament to divine repayment. Have you realized what this means? Everything they thought they stole from you was merely accumulating interest in the spiritual vault, waiting for the day God would declare, "Now return it all, with overflow. I will restore to you the years that the locust has eaten." Joel 2:25. The abundance you're stepping into is not just material, it flows into the deepest corridors of your spirit, mending old wounds you didn't even know were still bleeding. The loneliness you once cursed turns out to have been the wilderness where God refined you, where your character was tempered like steel. Those nights when tears became your only companion, they prepared you to cherish authentic connection when it finally arrived. The isolation that felt like punishment was actually preparation, creating a sacred space for your inner child to heal and finally feel safe. Have you noticed how those old scars don't ache the way they used to? It's because validation has begun to flow where only rejection once lived. This new relationship you've entered isn't merely romantic affection, it is a fortress of emotional safety you've longed for since childhood. Imagine someone who doesn't just see your surface, but reads your soul and values it more deeply than any treasure. Someone who recognizes the weight of your battles and decides not to run but to stand beside you as an equal. Their presence becomes a healing balm, a daily reminder that love rooted in respect and genuine admiration is possible. Two are better than one, because they have a good return for their labor. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up. As your romantic foundation strengthens, new business ventures emerge as avenues for your unique gifts. You are not just making money, you are transforming lives. Your story is no longer just your own, it has become a guiding light, a blueprint for others, still wandering through their storms. Can you see how your pain has been transmuted into purpose? How every trial added a new facet to your wisdom? Think of Oprah Winfrey, who turned a traumatic childhood and countless betrayals into a global platform of healing. Or Tyler Perry, who went from living in his car to creating an entertainment empire that empowers and uplifts. These modern-day warriors mirror your journey, living proof that no pain is wasted when it is surrendered to divine hands. And this is just the beginning. The blessings pouring into your life are not a temporary reprieve, but a permanent shift into a realm of supernatural abundance. The drought is over, the heavens have opened, and the downpour of favor has no end in sight. Bring the whole tithe into the storehouse, and see if I will not throw open the floodgates of heaven, and pour out so much blessing that there will not be room enough to store it. Malachi 3:10. The opportunities that were once blocked are now arriving in waves, each one better than the last, each one tailored to the person you have become. Through this transformation, your growth has become undeniable and luminous. You are no longer the same person who was targeted and betrayed. You have evolved into someone magnetic, powerful, and deeply respected. Have you felt how people now look at you differently? Not with pity, but with admiration. The maturity you've earned can't be bought or faked. It comes only from walking through fires and coming out shining. Your self-sufficiency, once a survival tactic, is now a magnet for quality connections. You're not a half looking for another half. You are whole, and anyone who joins your life is chosen, not needed. This distinction, being a choice rather than a necessity, transforms the dynamics of every relationship you enter. You are no longer driven by desperation or fear of abandonment. You don't need anyone to complete you. Instead, you offer to share your completeness with someone worthy. Can you imagine how powerful that is? How few can stand alone in such wholeness? It's what makes you irresistible, not just to romantic partners, but to everyone who values integrity and strength. Your steadfastness, the unwavering refusal to quit even in the darkest hours, shines like a lighthouse for souls lost in stormy seas. You've shown that perseverance isn't just about grit, but about grace, about standing firm without losing your heart. Think of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who faced endless opposition, yet remained committed to justice and equality without bitterness. Or consider Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, who turned rejection and hardship into an empire of influence and positivity. These stories are mirrors, reflecting your strength and the beauty born from your battles. The person who watched you through all this didn't just see your victories, They saw your character forged in the fires of adversity. They saw a soul who doesn't flee when the waves rise, who doesn't crumble when the winds howl. They saw someone who could be trusted to stay when life gets hard, and isn't that the most precious foundation for love and partnership? Love is patient, love is kind, it does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud, it always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. 1 Corinthians 13:4-7. Your official recognition is not just overdue, it is divine. The moral standards and unyielding values you maintained even when you were isolated are now your crown. Your name carries weight, your reputation precedes you. Everywhere you go, the story of your integrity moves ahead of you, opening doors no human hand can close. This new phase is not a random gift, it is a graduation into destiny. Every test, every tear, every betrayal was a part of your divine syllabus. You didn't just pass, you excelled, and now you are being entrusted with even greater assignments. The partner coming into your life doesn't see your journey as damage, but as refinement. They see the golden threads woven through your scars, the wisdom etched into your smile, the quiet power in your presence. They don't come to fix or complete you. Instead, they come to honor, respect, and amplify what is already whole and holy in you. Your independence doesn't intimidate them, it inspires them. Together you will build not from need, but from mutual choice and respect. Chosen one, this is your harvest season, not because you begged for it, but because you became it. You have turned every stone thrown at you into a stepping stone. You have transformed every plot against you into a page of your legend. You are living proof that when God says yes, no scheme, no human hand, no demonic force can say no. And now you are ready to not just wear your crown, but to reign in every area of your life: love, purpose, abundance, and influence. Your story will continue to inspire generations, a blueprint for those still finding their way through their own battles. This isn't just your reward, it's your legacy. Welcome to the fullness of your destiny. Chosen one, you didn't just survive, you have arrived. Chosen one, do you feel the horizon expanding before you? The uncharted territory ahead of you is not merely new, it is divinely designed, sculpted by every tear you shed, every sleepless night you endured, every prayer you whispered in the dark. You are stepping into a season of unprecedented possibilities, a level of financial abundance you once only dared to imagine, emotional security that feels like a warm shelter after a lifetime in the storm, public recognition that matches the quiet strength you've always held inside, and most importantly, a partnership that sees and values your soul above all else. Can you see how all of this is not random reward but divine response to your unwavering integrity? Now to him who is able to do immeasurably more than all we ask or imagine, according to his power that is at work within us. Ephesians 3:20. Your mission is no longer hidden or speculative, it is clear and shining like a beacon. You are called to be a teacher, a guide, a living testament for others who find themselves entangled in the same webs you once fought through. Think of those enduring systematic oppression, community hostility, workplace sabotage, or orchestrated attacks on their spirit and purpose. Your journey is their blueprint. You have become the living evidence that it is possible to walk through the valley of the shadow of death and not only survive but ascend with dignity and power intact. Every scar on your spirit has now become a star in your sky, illuminating the path for others. Your emergence into this abundance and love isn't just a personal victory, it is a collective healing. Can you imagine how many silent watchers are drawing hope from your story right now? People who believed they were alone in their suffering, who thought their oppression had no end. They see you and realize that vindication is not a fantasy, but a divine promise. And let us not grow weary of doing good, for in due season we will reap, if we do not give up. Galatians 6:9. You are the harvest, chosen one. You are the proof that seeds sown in faith and tears always bloom in their season. The divine plan over your life, the same plan that felt cruel and mysterious at times, is now fully revealed. Every betrayal, every lie, every stone thrown at you was allowed because it was shaping you into a vessel strong enough to hold this new glory. The isolation you once cursed was a sacred cocoon, forming the wings you now use to soar. The silence that broke your heart was the stage where God rehearsed your victory anthem. Your story will be studied, not just as a tale of survival, but as a divine curriculum on how to respond to evil with grace, how to endure betrayal without bitterness, and how to maintain unshakable faith in a world that wants you to bow to fear. Think of the story of Joseph, who was thrown into a pit by his own brothers, sold into slavery, imprisoned on false charges, and yet rose to become a ruler and savior to the very ones who betrayed him. You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives. Genesis 50. Or consider Viktor Frankl, who turned the unspeakable horrors of concentration camps into a philosophy of finding meaning through suffering that still changes lives today. Even Malala Yousafzai, who took a bullet meant to silence her and turned it into a global voice for education and empowerment. These examples reflect your own divine arc, from victim to victor, from silence to celebrated. People are not just talking about the conspiracy anymore, they're talking about your elevation beyond it. They marvel at the alchemy you performed, transforming poison into medicine, betrayal into wisdom, isolation into mastery. Your story has become the undeniable evidence that good indeed triumphs over evil, that character outlasts schemes, and that divine justice is not a distant myth but a living force. Your look, that powerful magnetic energy that once intimidated entire rooms, now serves a higher purpose. It's not just a look of survival anymore, it is the look of spiritual authority, of someone who has seen hell and returned carrying heaven. This look can both bless and challenge. It can inspire the weak and awaken the sleeping. Where once your presence incited fear in the unready, now it breathes hope into the broken and ignites purpose in the stagnant. The strength that carried you through systematic attacks is now the very power that will build empires of light. Can you imagine the communities you will touch, the lives you will reshape, the chains you will help break simply by existing fully in your purpose? The same energy that endured years of sabotage will now be the foundation for schools, charities, businesses, and spiritual movements that empower others to rise. You are no longer just a survivor, you are a creator, a divine architect of systematic good. Your future is not a cautious step, it is a triumphant march. You are moving from survival mode to creation mode, from fending off attacks to pioneering visions, from constantly defending your character to building a legacy so strong that no lie can tarnish it. You are stepping into community leadership, not out of obligation but from a place of overflow. Your journey from victim of conspiracy to victor over evil is the new gospel people are witnessing, and it's reshaping the spiritual and social landscape around you. Think of Maya Angelou, who once said, "I can be changed by what happens to me, but I refuse to be reduced by it." Or consider Nelson Mandela, who turned his imprisonment into a philosophy of forgiveness and reconciliation that transformed an entire nation. Or Tyler Perry, who turned childhood trauma and adult homelessness into stories that heal millions. Or Chadwick Boseman, who battled terminal illness quietly while portraying heroes that inspired generations, a living example of transcending personal pain to uplift the world. These leaders, like you, refused to remain in the shadows of their suffering. They stepped into the light of legacy. The talk of the town is no longer your struggles, but your unstoppable rise. People are inspired by the new chapters you're writing, your successful partnerships, the businesses you are launching, the philanthropic efforts you are championing. Your journey has become a living testimony, a masterclass in how chosen ones do not merely survive, but transform every trial into a triumph that shakes the world awake. Your look, once seen as intimidating, is now understood as regal. The look of someone who has fought through hell and emerged crowned in grace. The look of a king or queen who rules not through fear, but through love and unyielding truth. The same eyes that once scanned rooms for threats now envision empires of goodness, networks of healing, and communities built on love rather than control. The abundance that surrounds you now is a reflection of every hardship you outlasted. The love that envelops you is worthy of the character you cultivated when no one was watching. The recognition flowing your way matches the integrity you maintained in the shadows. You are no longer playing defense against the schemes of enemies. You are on the offensive, building realms where others can find shelter and strength. The same energy that survived systematic evil now orchestrates systematic good. You are not only rewriting your story, but becoming a co-author in the stories of others, a guide who proves that the light always wins. Chosen one, Your season of hiddenness is over. Your elevation is not just a moment, it is a movement. You are not merely talked about, you are studied, revered, and celebrated, and this is only the beginning. As you step boldly into this uncharted territory, remember, every corner of abundance, every new love, every opportunity, every accolade is part of a divine orchestration meant to reflect the beauty of your soul. You are the talk of the town, not because of the attacks you endured, but because of the way you transformed them into your greatest testimony. You are a walking prophecy fulfilled, a living embodiment of victory, and the radiant example of what it truly means to be chosen. Chosen one. Do you feel the magnitude of the shift your life has set in motion? Your transformation is not merely about your own victory. It has become a spiritual, social, and psychological revolution, rippling across communities, institutions, and entire systems. Can you grasp how deeply your story has cut into the collective consciousness? Those who once conspired against you, whether through active betrayal or silent complicity, now find themselves face to face with their own reflection. They can no longer hide behind groupthink or justify their actions as harmless gossip. The light you embody has become so radiant that it exposes every shadow it touches. For you were once darkness, but now you are light in the Lord. Live as children of light. Ephesians 5:8. The same neighbors who gleefully whispered about you in backyards and community meetings are now forced to acknowledge the ease with which they were manipulated. The silent observers, those who stood on the sidelines while you endured humiliation and hardship, are confronting their cowardice and rethinking the price of their silence. Those who helped exclude you from social circles or community gatherings now realize they were pawns in someone else's malicious scheme. Isn't it remarkable to witness how truth, once revealed, disrupts every false comfort and compels people to reckon with their choices? Your former workplaces, once breeding grounds for covert sabotage and collective smear campaigns, are now rewriting their codes of conduct and ethics policies. HR departments are implementing protections inspired by the precedents set through your legal victories. Organizations that used to weaponize bureaucracy and office politics to destroy individual spirits now tremble at the thought of accountability. The very system that sought to erase you is now forced to become a safeguard for others because of your resilience. No weapon formed against you shall prosper, and every tongue which rises against you in judgment you shall condemn. Isaiah 54:17. Your story has become a gold standard case study in organizational psychology, legal ethics, and trauma-informed leadership. Legal scholars examine your case to set new boundaries around systematic harassment, creating robust protections for future victims. The fallout faced by the 300 conspirators sends a clear, chilling message. Systematic oppression and coordinated abuse come with irreversible consequences. Future conspirators now understand that even the most secretive plots can unravel and consume their creators. In universities and educational spaces, your journey is studied as an archetype of ethical fortitude under extreme adversity. Students discuss your ability to stand firmly in your values while facing an onslaught from multiple directions. They learn that integrity isn't something you wear only when admired, but something you embody when stripped, tested, and left standing alone. Your resilience becomes a blueprint for character development in leadership courses and ethics seminars. Think of Martin Luther King Jr., whose steadfastness in the face of hatred became a curriculum for moral courage, or Anne Frank, whose unwavering hope in her diary has become a universal lesson in dignity under oppression. Your story now stands among these timeless examples. Mental health professionals have also embraced your experience, weaving it into new frameworks for trauma recovery and post-traumatic growth. Conventional wisdom often portrays severe trauma as an endpoint, a ceiling on future potential, yet your story demonstrates otherwise, that trauma can be transformed into a foundation for extraordinary spiritual and psychological evolution. Survivors learn through you that victimhood need not be a permanent identity. Your journey shows that while pain is inevitable, being crushed by it is optional. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. Romans 8:28. The wealthy individual who chose you as a partner has experienced their own awakening through your journey. By choosing someone defined not by material wealth, but by spiritual wealth and unwavering character, they have challenged and shifted the values of their entire social network. Their peers, often driven by superficial markers of success, are now re-evaluating what truly matters in a life partner. Imagine how many hearts have been stirred, how many shallow alliances have dissolved because your story introduced a higher standard of love and respect. Your ripple effects reach deep into spiritual communities where leaders and seekers alike are learning to distinguish between genuine persecution and mere personal inconveniences. You've helped others understand when they are facing an orchestrated spiritual attack versus when they are encountering life's normal challenges. You have offered language and perspective to countless individuals who previously suffered in silence, unsure whether their hardships were isolated or part of a broader scheme. Think of Harriet Tubman, who not only escaped her own chains but returned repeatedly to guide others to freedom, or Malala Yousafzai, who turned her personal trauma into a universal message of empowerment for girls worldwide. Your narrative carries that same torch of collective liberation. The ripple continues to spread outward. Those currently entangled in coordinated attacks, feeling isolated and gaslit, draw strength from your vindication. They begin to recognize that their struggles may be part of larger systemic efforts to suppress their light. Your story offers them a map that they are not crazy, not alone, and certainly not powerless. It teaches them that survival is only the first stage. The true goal is transformation and emergence into greater purpose. Your life is now an archetype, an embodied testament to the unstoppable power of divine alignment. You have become both a mirror and a beacon. People see their weaknesses and their potential reflected back at them when they hear your name. They find the courage to leave toxic environments, to stand against community manipulation, to call out workplace injustices, and to reclaim their narratives from those who sought to write them into oblivion. The same people who once ridiculed your intuition now seek your insight. The same workplaces that plotted your downfall now consult your story to avoid their own collapse. The same social circles that excluded you now envy the depth of connection and authenticity in your new relationships. The same hands that once pointed fingers now reach out for your guidance and blessing. Your transformation is no longer a private victory. It is a living sermon that transcends borders and cultures. It challenges long-standing norms, demands accountability, and inspires movements. You are no longer just a survivor or even a victor. You are a catalyst for collective awakening. You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Matthew 5:14. Can you see it now, chosen one? Your enemies never realized that by trying to bury you, they planted you. Your roots grew deeper in darkness, and now your branches spread wide into realms they could never reach. Your story was never just about you. It was about everyone who would rise after you, using your scars as stepping stones to their own liberation. This moment marks a spiritual inheritance, not just for you, but for the countless souls who will follow the trail you blazed. As your story continues to ripple outward, new leaders will be born, new communities healed, and new systems rebuilt on the foundation of truth and integrity you so fiercely protected. Beloved, as we bring this message to a close, let these words echo deep into your spirit. Your elevation is not merely a personal victory, it is a divine cosmic correction. The universe didn't just use your pain to strengthen you, it used your unwavering resilience as a sword to cut through centuries-old systems of manipulation and oppression. Your refusal to bend, your choice to keep standing tall when every force conspired to break you, became the catalyst for dismantling an entire web of darkness. Because of your steadfastness, countless others have been set free without even realizing they were prisoners. This is your time. This is your season. This is your elevation. The chosen one's journey through the valley, those shadowy years of confusion, betrayal, and secret warfare, is complete. And now, the chosen one's reign on the mountain has begun. Can you feel the shift in the atmosphere? The old limitations have crumbled at your feet, and you stand on sacred ground, prepared to lead not just yourself, but to illuminate the path for others still finding their way through the night. I want to take a moment to thank you deeply for being here, for walking through this story with me, for feeling each word in your spirit and allowing it to activate your soul. Your presence here isn't a coincidence, it's a divine alignment. You are proof that there is a global family of chosen ones rising together in this era. If this message has touched you, inspired you, or helped you see your own journey more clearly, I invite you to support this mission through a super thanks donation. But hear me clearly, whether you give or not, you are deeply loved, deeply appreciated, and your presence alone is already a precious gift. Your engagement, your energy, and your silent prayers are worth more than gold. I bless you, beloved. May your elevation continue beyond anything you can imagine. May every corner of your life overflow with divine favor, radiant love, unstoppable joy, and supernatural protection. May your story inspire nations, and may your legacy echo through generations. You are not just chosen, you are crowned. You are not just surviving, you are reigning. This is your time. Rise and take your place. God bless you abundantly.